Hey, this is Antonio. Welcome back to my channel. Now, who's ready for some fighting words? In this video, I want to do a fight breakdown / prediction for Artur Beterbiev versus Anthony Yarde. The fight was ordered, so now we basically just have to wait and see. So basically, if you're new to the channel, you don't know how I do fight breakdowns and predictions. I just put both fighters side by side, and I basically just run through a list of attributes that I feel every fighter should have. And whoever has more points in the end, that's the individual that I'm going with. So without further ado, let's jump into it. I'm going to start with experience. I think experience is always best to start with because I feel like it looks at history. And then we come to present day. Beterbiev, obviously. He has a combat history. A lot of people don't know, but he also used to wrestle. He did judo. He did a lot of things. But he's been boxing for a long time, and he's a true professional at the sport. When I look at Anthony Yarde, he came to the sport late. That doesn't mean that he doesn't have like a natural ability, and it doesn't mean that he's not good at his craft, but he has to make up a lot of time. And when I look at Anthony Yarde, one of my critiques against him is that he didn't, I'm not going to say he didn't, but he didn't spar a lot coming up. And I feel like that was a huge detriment to his career. Now, granted, his career is still somewhat young, but still, I feel like a lot of things would have been learned about him or learned to himself and his team, and you could work on things as you go along. If you get in the ring and you spar, it's the only way we're going to learn. We're going to get in there and spar. We can hit bags all day, and anybody and everybody looks cute hitting a bag, but we got to get in there and spar. We got to see what we've learned. We got to see if the technique that we've been using on that bag actually applies to real life when a live target is in front of us. And that's always been one of my critiques towards him. But definitely when it comes to experience in this boxing game, it's 100% Artur Beterbiev. Technique. This is kind of a tricky one, only because both guys I don't feel, the best at technique. I look at Artur Beterbiev, and he's just more of an organized slugger. Like he's just an organized slugger. You kind of put him in the Triple G category. But Triple G, I feel like, has more restraint. And I also feel Triple G has better defense. But then I look at Anthony Yarde, and I feel like his speed is his defense, and his legs, mainly with his speed, that's his defense. He just kind of gets out of the way. He will try to do like the Philly shell or something like that and kind of cover up. But as much as he practices it, that's just not, he's so green, I feel like. I mean, he's got a lot of fights, but still he's green in terms of, past experiences and an amateur background, that I feel like if you're going to do that Philly shell, you need to really have a deep or just overall an amateur background in order to really perfect that. That takes time, because that shell is all about timing. And that shell takes time. Yeah, when he's fighting a lesser opponent, he does it, and he does it well, because he's fighting a lesser opponent. Not to mention, when he's fighting somebody who he hits a lot harder than, it's easy for him to do that technique. But I just don't necessarily feel like that would be effective towards Artur Beterbiev. But when I look at technique, I'm slightly going to give it to Artur Beterbiev. I don't think he has the best technique, because like I said, he's more like an organized slugger. He's a slugger who paces himself. He's a slugger. Artur Beterbiev is a slugger without emotion. And he's organized in his slugging. He's not wild. He's very precise in his punches. He's not a wild guy. He's just so consistent, and a lot of times he'll be consistent with the same exact punch. So when I say he's a slugger, he does get into fights, and I feel like that's his forte, and I feel like that's like a key for him. If he could drag you into a fight, he's basically already got you. Now all he has to do is finish you off. But I still would give it to Artur Beterbiev when it comes to technique. Both of them get hit as well, but I would definitely still give it to Artur Beterbiev. Power. This one's tricky. I'm gonna say a tie, because both guys could. I listened to a lot of the stories from other guys talking about Artur Beterbiev, how he's flatline heavyweights. And then I look at Anthony Yarde, who could easily flatline a heavyweight. He's fast. He hits hard. It wouldn't surprise me if he were to hit somebody, if he were to hit Artur Beterbiev and Beterbiev went out. It wouldn't surprise me. Honestly, both of these guys have the firepower to immobilize the other guy. So I'm going to have to go with a tie with this one. Speed, Anthony Yarde all day. That's a huge part of his game. Speed and power, speed and power, speed and power. He's not the guy who's going to throw 100 punches in a round. He's not the guy who's going to do a whole lot of setups. He's the guy who's going to bait you into something and then rely on his speed to counter you and then his power to finish you. Boxing IQ. I mean, actually, we got to go with the guy who's got more of a history and a background of combat, of fighting, and I got to go with Artur Beterbiev. I feel like he is a lot more. He is controlled, but that's not really the word that I'm thinking of. I'm thinking more like he can set a trap, but on top of setting traps, Artur Beterbiev he knows how to bait you, but not bait you into a trap, but more or less bait you into fighting his fight. And I think that would fall along the lines of boxing IQ. I mean, he's a good boxer. He's actually a really good boxer. I mean, he's very, very technical. But when I look at boxing IQ, I'm thinking about people who can set traps, like a Lomachenko and Alexander Usyk. People like that who can set traps, who can set you up and then get you out of there. Basically the way Tank did with Rolly. And you can see that he planned that from far out. But, you put enough investment in the bank, you're going to get your return. And I feel like Artur Beterbiev is skilled enough and intelligent enough in the ring in the moment to do such a thing. Footwork, Anthony Yarde. Again, like I said, speed is a huge part of his game. Also, I feel like he's a very creative fighter. And because of that, his footwork is a large part of his game because when he has space, if he's not on the ropes, because a lot of times he'll find himself on the ropes because he gets a little tired, because he's doing all these things and at his size, you get a little tired. But he's got great footwork. I got to give it to him. Anthony Yarde is definitely somebody to pay attention to and watch, especially in the opening rounds. I'd probably say up to round 5, he's doing some pretty cool things. Not just with his combinations, not just with his speed, but also with his footwork. It's always fun to watch his footwork to see what he's doing or how he's moving. Toughness. I feel like both guys are tough. I cannot give this to Anthony Yarde because when he fought Bone Crusher, he was basically just tired. And it's like, bro, you got like 2 rounds left or something like that. I believe he had like another round left or something like that. And I feel like worst case scenario, listen, you can will yourself through this round. But he was tired. And then he had Bone Crusher hurt and he couldn't finish him off. He just had, he was tired. And again, toughness is not just a physicality thing. Toughness is also a mental thing. And I feel like he lacked both of those things in that fight. Sure, he grew in that fight, but still, nonetheless, you lack both of the things to make you a champion in that fight. The mental toughness to say it's just 2 rounds or, however many rounds that it was. I do believe it was 2 rounds. If I'm incorrect, please type that in in the comments. But I believe he had like a round left or 2 rounds left. But you can will yourself through that. You can literally will yourself through 2 more rounds. You can will yourself through a fight in general. We've all seen fights where guys are just getting the crap beat out of them. Shout out Mickey Ward. You can will yourself through a fight. Even if you're on the downside of that fight, you can will yourself through a fight. You're choosing to say, well, I'm tired. Especially if you only have like 2 rounds left, you're definitely choosing to say, well, I'm tired and maybe we'll live the fight another day. And then the physical side, he had Bone Crusher hurt. He had him hurt. He had him on the ropes. He was hurt. Even Bone Crusher said after the fight in the post-fight interview, he said he was hurt. He just couldn't get him out of there. Why? Because he was tired. He was physically exhausted. And a lot of that goes to all that moving around that he does in those early rounds. At his size, he carries a lot of muscle. And muscle, over the rounds, it's going to deplete you, of energy. It's just going to deplete you of energy. But so because of those 2 things, I can't give it to him. Now, why can I give it to Artur Beterbiev? Because he's been down before. Why can I give it to Artur Beterbiev? Because he's been cut open before. And he went in there and he finished his man. That's why I can give it to Artur Beterbiev. because he knew that the officials, they were going to stop it. He had a huge cut, a huge gash in his head, and he went there and he took care of business. That's why I can give it to him. That talks about the mental and physical toughness, the two things that I said that Anthony Yarde lacked in his fight against Bone Crusher. Well, Beterbiev showed both of those. He displayed both of those in one fight. He got up off the canvas, and then he, had to deal with the fact that he's looking at his blood falling down in his face, and then them saying they're going to stop the fight, and he goes out there and he finishes his guy. That's mental toughness. And that pretty much brings me into this category, champion mentality. I think Artur Beterbiev is every bit of a champion. I think he carries himself like a champion. I think he trains all year round like a champion. I think he does everything like a champion. And, when I look at Anthony Yarde, I think he is mentally strong in the sense that he wants to be a champion, like every contender, like everybody, coming up in the game. This is not a sport that you do just for money. This is not the sport you do just for money. Contrary to how much guys are getting paid, this is not the sport you do just for money. If you're just doing this for money, it's going to be a very long, hard road. And it's going to be very hard to wake up 4 or 5 in the morning and go run 5-6 miles because it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. What you're doing to your body, what you're doing to your head, you're taking a lot of trauma over the years. So this is not the sport for that. But I do, like I said, I think Anthony Yarde, I commend him for wanting to take on hard fights. That's what I'll say when it comes to Anthony Yarde. And I think that in itself is a championship, caliber fighter. But when I look at the mentality of a champion, Artur Beterbiev is literally trying to stalk and hunt and devour every opponent he gets in the ring with. He's getting them out of there. That's how he rolls. And it's just his overall demeanor. It's the way he fights. Everything is intentional. Every round is 100%. I got to give it to Artur Beterbiev. Now, in this segment, I say it's basically called, what does he have to do? Well, Artur Beterbiev, like all his fights, I feel like he needs to make this fight a dogfight. That's his game. If you just want to go mano-a-mano and see who has more machismo in a fight, Artur Beterbiev is going to beat you at the game every single time. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's his game. And if he can lure Anthony Yarde into a game of, well, who's tougher? Lions in the camp. Who's tougher? If he can lure him into that type of fight, I don't see any chance for Anthony Yarde, to be honest with you. Anthony Yarde, stay on the outside and box. Stick and move. Simple as that. You have those legs. You're really fast. You're really creative with your legs. Stick and move. Make him chase you. Make him get tired just from chasing you. I don't care if the crowd is booing. I don't care. Listen, your next fight, you'll make it up to the crowd because you'll get a knockout. But this is not the guy to be trying to stand toe-to-toe, screaming lions in the camp. That's not going to work in this fight. Not going to work. Beterbiev, be aggressive and back Yarde up. Anthony Yarde does not like fighting backing up. He is a power puncher. And once people kind of get a whiff of his power, they tend to back up. And that also gives him the space to be creative because they're backing off of him. But make him back up. If Beterbiev can back him up, which I'm pretty sure he can, you're going to get less volume. Not that Anthony Yarde is going to throw 100 punches in a round anyway, but you're going to get even less volume because he's backing up. He's just going to be solely defensive, which is going to leave him immobilized in the sense of an onslaught towards you. Yarde, don't match power with power. Honestly, like I just said, this is not the fight to be matching power with power. Sometimes you have to play it smart. Sometimes you got to play it cool. Sometimes you got to look at the long game. Well, let me just make it to the 12th round and let me win by points. Now, I know it's going to be very difficult for Anthony Yarde. So if he does it like this, it's going to be very difficult because he's not a guy who throws a lot of punches. But I think overall, if they look at who throws the more effective shots, if he can hit and then get away, and let's just say he busts up Beterbiev's face, which again is not a crazy assumption. Anthony Yarde hits really hard and he's extremely fast. It could happen. A lot of times judges will look at the damage at the end of the fight and say, well, that guy looks more jacked up than that guy. Let's give it to that guy. So you never know. And in terms with the judges, you really never know. For Beterbiev, I would say attack the body of Anthony Yarde. Why? Because you know he's going to move. You know he's not going to be a stationary target. You're going to have to slow him down. Yeah, you could chase him, but do you really want to do that all the whole 12 rounds? I don't necessarily feel like this fight is going 12 rounds, but if you take his legs out early, if you attack that body early, you definitely minimize the chances of having to go 12 rounds. And then you're going to force something out of Yarde because now he's going to stay as a stationary target and fight Beterbiev off, which in my personal opinion is not going to be in his favor. Let's see. Yarde, be creative with simple attacks and don't stay in the pocket long. I personally think an attack of 2, 1, 2, just 2 shots at a time, 2 shots at a time. You move, you move, you move. Now, granted, over time, I'd probably say by the 3rd round, he's going to pick up on that. But I still would say it would be safer for Anthony Yarde to throw up no more than 2 shots at a time. Because the reality is, if you stay stationary long enough, he's going to get off on you. He's going to get off. More than likely, Beterbiev is going to start the contact anyway. If you two come in close, he's going to start it off anyway. And now he's starting it off and he's finishing off because if you throw more than 2, there's going to be that counter. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be a counter of more than 1 punch. Let's see. Beterbiev, take Anthony Yarde into the deep waters. We all know Anthony Yarde does not have the best cardio in the world. Take him into the deep waters. If you take him deep enough, he'll probably drown himself just because you're applying all that pressure. Beterbiev is going to be walking him down. Beterbiev is going to be cutting off the ring. Beterbiev is going to be throwing a whole lot of punches. And you take him into deep water. That means Yarde's got his hands full in every facet of this fight. Anthony Yarde, start a pace that you can keep for 12 rounds. Because you tend not to do that. Start a pace you can keep for 12 rounds. If you're going to go to 70 miles an hour, then you stay at 70 miles an hour. Don't you hit 80, because if you hit 80, you're going to end up doing 70 miles an hour. And when you slow up, he's still going to be geared to go. He has great cardio. So don't start a pace that you can't keep up. If you're comfortable at 65, stay at 65. Be a consistent 65 all 12 rounds. Yarde, do not make this into a dogfight. I know his corner loves to scream out, lions in the camp, lions in the camp. Do not make this into a street fight. Don't make this into a yard fight. Don't make this into a dogfight. That is what Beterbiev is banking on. Do not make this into a dogfight. Don't give him any more than what he needs. I feel like in terms of attributes, Beterbiev has a few more attributes than Anthony Yarde already. And if you give him what he needs in terms of a street fight, well, then you just added another one into his wish list. So don't do that. Overall, I have Beterbiev winning. He did score more points on my point sheet over here. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to 3 for Anthony Yarde. So I have Beterbiev winning. I do believe it's probably going to be by a technical knockout. I just don't think that Anthony Yarde can keep up, to be honest with you. I just think the pace is going to be relentless. I think the volume of punches is going to be relentless. I think the pressure and the aggressiveness is going to be relentless. And you also have 2 guys who are very accurate punchers. And when you have a guy who's throwing at the volume that Beterbiev is punching, and he's as accurate as Beterbiev, I just don't see how Anthony Yarde is going to climb that mountain. And there you have it. That is my fight breakdown for Anthony Yarde versus Artur Beterbiev. If you like what you're hearing, please like, please share, and please subscribe to this channel.